Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome back to another video with some World of Tanks gameplay for you. And in this video we're going to focus on those tanks that just come with shed tons of armour and can bounce things all day long. Kicking off proceedings with Beer and Wings here, who you may have seen some gameplay of before on this channel, and he is driving the Tier 9 American non-turreted tank destroyer, the T-95, sometimes affectionately known as the Doom Turtle. This thing has a bit of a reputation for being rather stupid in the frontal armour department, and is fairly well known for being featured in a video where it just went on Malinovka and drove across the map, whilst the entire enemy team shooted it and failed to kill it, and scouted in a kind of super heavy assault gun type way. And thus, here we are at with this machine. We're on the Paris map here. It's a standard game here on Paris. Paris is a funny map. It's one of the... Okay, at this point, it's no longer really a new map, but it's one of the more recent additions to the game, perhaps I should say. And I must admit, I don't really have a massive love for this map. But then again, you know, it's... I don't know. It's another city map, although at least it's not just a mass of corridors. And I must admit, the map has slightly grown on me with time. Anyway, Beer and Wings here has taken up a kind of central-ish location. If you come over to here, you can often get off a shot or two against some incautious enemy tanks who are making their way across, especially if you have, say for example, a light tank who's up ahead doing a little bit of spotting. Doesn't have to be a light tank, of course. But there are lines of fire, as you can see here, straight across the middle of the map. And especially if you're in a slightly slower machine, as was that poor Jagdpanzer E100, you can get a little caught out there. This tank, for those who are interested, is packing a 155mm gun, 750 alpha damage, 276mm of penetration with regular armor-piercing rounds. That goes up to 320 with premium ammunition APCR. I must confess, 320, this may sound odd, is not actually that impressive for what is a tier 10 tank destroyer gun, but nonetheless still going to make mincemeat of anything that it points at. And being a 155mm gun, high explosive rounds are also none too shabby. 950 alpha damage and 90 odd penetration. Well, Beer and Wings has kind of run out of stuff to shoot at where he was, so he comes around here towards the field, and that T-25 pilot, despite spotting Beer and Wings and knowing his T-95 is here, backs off enough to let Beer get another shot or a nice shot there into his side, leaving that guy rather sad. Surely he's not going to give Beer here the kill. Well, apparently he is. Go figure. Seems a little bit odd, especially as the Centurion had actually died, and, well, there's basically the field lost. But at least Beer was able to take out one of the bad guys as they were pushing forwards. So, this thing is very heavily armoured frontally. It has a punchy gun. What's the downside? Well, as you may have noticed, it is slow. Very, very sluggish machine. One of the slowest tanks in the game, although did receive a bit of a buff. Why did you do that, Mr. T-54? What do you think you're going to achieve? Anyway, never mind. It is very slow and sluggish. It did receive a mobility buff, buff to its top speed limit, actually, to kind of mitigate against that. And now, there are a lot of people who consider this, despite the still somewhat sluggish mobility, to be one of the most powerful tier-for-tier tanks in the game. The way the game's developed, it's very much favoured tanks that can hold the line, fight in sort of corridors, bounce things, all stuff that the T-95 is good at. Combine that with a very meaty gun, and you have a bit of a monster, I will be honest. Don't actually have this machine myself yet. Ooh, that's going to leave a mark. 829 is a high roll, but, you know, definitely going to hurt. Don't have this tank myself yet. I am on the T-28 at tier 8, and I'm finding it... it's not as bad as I had been led to believe, let's put it that way. It does help that the HD models seem to give it a bit of an armour buff, making the armour more relevant. Though I still prefer the T-28 prototype at tier 8. Anyway, Beer is now up to over 3,000 damage. Although not many people have tried shooting him yet, with the scoreline at 7-9. It will be interesting to see how long that remains the case for, of course. And there's a rather optimistic Udez. Is he going to go for it? Come on, Mr. Udez. What's the worst that could happen? Well, I guess that, really. If you are just going to drive out the open in front of a T95, I mean, you shouldn't really expect particularly good things to happen to you. Nonetheless, the friendly team is down 8-11. Beer is up to almost 4,000 damage at this point. And there's a Stritzvang coming up behind them, which is a little bit awkward as he comes down the field. So there's only 4 of them left on the friendly team here, and none of them are top tier. All the friendly top tier tanks, basically a couple of Death Stars, have died. So that could be a problem. T-54 lightweight trying his luck. Luckily for him, Beer is looking the wrong way. He takes a shot at Beer's T-95 and manages to take out Beer's vision device thingamajiggy. So, yeah. At least Beer didn't take any damage from the guy. But, timing-wise, perhaps a little unlucky there. For some reason, the T-54 was firing APCR. I don't really think it would have made a huge amount of difference. What Beer might need to do in a moment, though, is turn around and deal with that Stritzvang. His gun is plenty big enough to overmatch that guy's frontal armour. Although that guy, you know, could potentially nail Beer's weak spots. Or alternatively, the enemy E3, I guess, could give Beer his side armour to shoot at, because that seems like a sensible thing to do, right? Don't really understand some people's decision making in this game, but never mind, let's not worry about it too much. Over 4,000 damage done now. Just lost the friendly Borsig, however, which is a bit suboptimal, and there's a T-54 lightweight in the cap, and there goes the SU-122-54, and frankly, this is all looking deeply messy. So, T-54 lightweight decides that he wants to poke out a little bit, but Beer isn't able to pick up the kill, and Beer is the last one left. He is outnumbered versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 enemy tanks. He is outnumbered 1 versus 7. Let's just make sure that's very clear. 7. Okay then, let's do this. So, T-54 lightweight, not sure there's much Beer can do about him at the moment, and he decides to prioritise the E3, shot through the lower front plate to deal with him. That takes him out, and which means Beer can come around and deal with these guys frontally. For some reason, the Stritzvang thinks it's going to be a good idea to ram a T-95. Spoiler alert, it is not. And he kills himself on Beer's side armour. So that's 2 kills in quick succession. But unfortunately, Beer is still outnumbered. Oh dear. 1 versus 5, and even more unfortunately, that Lorraine just shot him in the back and took out his ammo rack. Thankfully, it looks like the Lorraine only had 2 shots in the mag. And there's the T-54. To be fair to the Lorraine and the T-54, they're kind of trying to attack Beer together. And this is a very awkward situation for any T-95. Especially when the ammo rack has gone. Well, that's slightly problematic. Surely this T-54 isn't going to be dumb enough to do this again. Surely not. Well, gosh. That was a thing that happened. And there's artillery, and oh dear. Beer can't put his tracks back on. And this Lorraine apparently can't aim, as he bounces that first shot on Beer's side, even though he's firing APCR. But the Lorraine can't physically kill Beer here, although the enemy artillery seems to be having a bit of a go. Oh, this could be bad. Oh, there's some HE. Oh, dearie, dearie me. 20 seconds until Beer's repair kit is back, and then he can actually put his ammo rack back in, which would be nice. Slews the tank round, and okay, we're doing a weird little dance here. This is a bizarre and somewhat awkward situation to be in. Hello, Mr. Lorraine. Mistakes have been made, haven't they? Kill number 6. And now there's just the 3 artillery remaining, and Beer is going to be able to scrape this guy off the wall, and the Conqueror gun carriage probably doesn't have the gun depression to actually hit Beer's T-95 at this point. Maybe the GW Tiger can do something about this. Maybe he can. That would be quite sad. Conqueror gun carriage fires and does nothing. because he doesn't have the gun depression to hit Beer's tank, and so Beer goes boom. GW Tiger fires, and his shot lands somewhere in Kentucky. Quite impressive given that we're in Paris. And Beer is going after this guy too. I wonder what happens when a T-95 rams a GW Tiger. There we go. The T-95 takes no damage. That's what happens. Kill number 8. And that just leaves a GW Tiger P on the enemy team, probably wondering what he did to deserve this. 4 minutes and 35 left on the match. Can I re-point out that at one point Beer was 1 versus 7? 7. Now he's 1 versus 1. Now, this is actually slightly awkward. There's less than 4 minutes left on the clock. In order to cap, you need 1 minute and 40 seconds, i.e. 100 seconds. And it's possible that Beer doesn't actually physically have time to take his T-95, drive across the streets of Paris in order to cap. So that's a problem. And thus we're in this bizarre situation, having racked up 8 kills. Beer... oh, well, I thought he was hiding there because he'd realised that time was a problem. It's possible he actually hadn't noticed the clock and is now going to go and try for that cap. I'm still not convinced he's going to be able to do it in time, though. What he might be able to do is find that GW Tiger P. Obviously, killing the enemy artillery will finish the game off in Beer's favour. 3 minutes 27. And the guy was last spotted at C10. Now, we've already seen the GW Tiger and the Conqueror gun carriage make a bit of a hash of trying to kill Beer here, but at least they came out to take him on. What will this GW Tiger P do? That remains to be seen. Just going to speed this up a little bit. And as it is, the enemy GW Tiger P, given the array of options in front of him, decides to kill himself by detonating a high explosive shell against the wall, which, as you can see, I was just about to speed it up, I had forgotten about. So, Beer doesn't even have to kill the last guy. Like the genius that he is, he decides to commit suicide, despite the fact that he could well have killed Beer with 1 shot, because Beer only has 260 hit points left. Oh well, never mind. Let's go and have a look at the post-battle stats, I guess. So that actually ended up being a pretty nice game there for Beer and Wings. Ace Tanker, Bruiser, Duelist, Fire for Effect, and one hell of a slew of medals there. Let's see what we've got. Steel Wall, Tank Sniper? Really? High Caliber, Top Gun, a Pascucci's medal, Radley Walters medal, and Kolobanov's medal. What a nice slew of awards. 6,829 damage done, 8 kills, 1,564 base experience there. Can we just have a big shout out, by the way, for the enemy GW Tiger P, MF Keith, for being a idiotic suicidal scumbag. Never mind. 13 shots fired, 12 hits, 12 pens for that damage count. Most of his damage was from pretty close range, as you might expect, but he still did enough damage from long range to pick up the Tank Sniper award, because of course he did. 11 hits received, 5 penetrated, 6 did not, bearing in mind a number of those hits were from a flanking Lorraine. For a paltry 1,300 damage blocked by Beer's armour. 2 enemy vehicles spotted, 9 damaged, 8 destroyed, 217 assistance damage, and even with the standard account that was enough for about a 15,500 credit profit. Only 1,300 damage blocked by armour in a T-95. Beer, you should be ashamed of yourself. A disgraceful result. Then again, he did do almost 7,000 damage, so it swings and roundabouts. What you gonna do? Hopefully that set the tone for the rest of this video. Anyway, we've got more replays to look at. Our second offering today then is courtesy of Dampney, and he is driving the Tier 9 Soviet heavy tank, the ST-1. And although he's top tier in this match, and Beer and Wings was just in a Tier 10 match, it should be noted that Dampney's ST-1 is not fully upgraded. See that thing poking out the front of the turret? That is the BL9 122mm gun from the IS-3. With 225 penetration and 390 alpha damage. So Dampney's not fully upgraded here. Here on Steps? Is this called Steps? It is called Steps. And we're going to see how he manages to do. Now, the ST1 has a reputation for being a reasonably decent tank. Certainly very good at bouncing shots, hence its inclusion in this video. I'm not personally there myself. I have unlocked this tank, but not yet purchased it. On my list of things to get. But we will see how Dampney is able to do here, and I don't think I've actually shown this tank on my channel yet. Much like the T95 we had in the previous game, I think that was the first time that that tank had been shown on this channel as well. Anyway, Dampney's coming over here to what is generally considered to be kind of the heavy tank, brawly bit of the map. There's this kind of corridor that runs down the one line, sort of, that you tend to find heavy tanks and heavily armoured tank destroyers go to duke it out with each other. Dampney is perhaps not doing this traditionally. Instead, he decides to rush across the gap there, which can sometimes result in you taking a fair bit of damage, but on this particular occasion, he doesn't have that misfortune. And instead, he is going to try and shoot some peeps in the face. Interesting that he's facing off against the T-34, by the way, because in a way, these two machines are not that dissimilar. The ST1 is kind of rather un-Soviet in some of its characteristics. Yes, it has that big old derpy gun, but it also has respectable gun depression and a rock-hard turret front, along with a kind of weak lower front plate, which means, as far as I can work out, you sort of end up playing it a little bit more like an American heavy. That was a little bit unlucky there. I say a bit unlucky because the turret roof of the T-34 you can actually overmatch with 122mm guns, which this is. So bear in mind when you see this performance, the top gun on this tank, of course, would end up doing more damage. It has 440 alpha damage and higher penetration, but all the same, Dampney here is doing a pretty good job, and the BL9 is good enough, especially when you are top tier. Dampney does take a hit there from the IS-3. Perhaps he could have side-scraped around that corner to avoid taking that damage. The shot hit him. Where did it go? Lower front plate there. Yeah, not too surprised. And so Dampney is just going to push on this IS-3. Dampney has better armour. He has the same gun, but presumably with better stats on it, given that this is a tier 9 rather than the IS-3, which is of course a tier 8. Though that logic doesn't always hold, but there's also an E75 round here. Hello, Mr. E75. And a Panther 88, and oh, whole bunches of unpleasantness. Dampney has a couple of tank destroyers behind him, giving him some moral support. But, well, hopefully slightly more than moral support, and, well, that IS-3 over-angled his side armour. I know Soviet tanks have good armour and good side armour, but you can definitely still overmatch it, and the T-34 is firing HE for some reason that I'm not quite clear on, but never mind. Dampney there is wiggling his turret to try and deny people shots at any weak points, like the commander's cupolas, and he tries for the cupola on the E75, but it's not a huge target, and he is not very lucky. But you can see here Dampney is bouncing shots like a boss. Hello, lower front plate of the E75. His gun gets damaged, which on the one hand is a little unfortunate, but on the other hand, this engagement is so close range that you could argue he probably doesn't need the gun to be fully working, though Dampney does repair it. There we go. He's now bouncing gold from a T-34. Oh dear. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why, despite all the problems that gold ammunition or premium ammunition has in this game, if your first reaction to a situation is just to load the gold rather than loading your cognitive functions, you're still not necessarily going to do particularly well. Because he's loaded the gold, that T-34, but he doesn't... But this is still a hull-down ST1. He can load the gold as much as he wants. This guy's still going to be a pain. Oh, there we're back to the HE now, so he's doing like a few damage every time he pulls the trigger. I mean, this T-34 really is not very good. If the T-34 had any sense, he'd just go somewhere else. Or rush Dampney, now that Dampney is repositioning, or do something, anything other than what he's currently doing. Hello, Mr. Panther. Goodbye, Mr. Panther. You are the weakest link. Oh, the T-34 is finally deciding to move up. Frabjuste, Kalu, some brain cells have awoken. Hello, Mr. Jagdtiger 88. That was a bit of an optimistic shot from Dampney. Jagdtiger 88 has 250mm of superstructure armour, angled back at a decent angle. That shot was never really going to do a great deal of much. Lovely shot there though, to track the E75 and put damage in. A bit unlucky that the E75 was actually able to damage Dampney in return. That T-34, by the way, is still sitting there doing nothing useful for his team. And so Dampney is left fighting this E75, manages to sneak that shot into the lower front plate. Even if he'd taken the shot from the E75, the E75 would have died, and Dampney wouldn't have done. He's got the hit points to take the shot if necessary. Coming around here, hey look, it's our T-34 friend, who finally manages to penetrate Dampney's tank. Will someone get that man a medal? I think it was in the hull. Must have been in the hull. Good lord, he's made enough of a hash of it. Anyway, Dampney is currently up to 3,800 damage done. There goes the Jagdtiger 88. Dampney really doesn't want to get shot in the side by this T-34, who for some reason is back to shooting high explosive. I do not understand what this guy is doing with his ammo loadout. His reload is terrible, so Dampney is able to put another shot in there. Dampney is now getting shot in the rear from a Batchat 12T. But the Batchat can't aim for Toffee, and so the Batchat bounces all the rest of his shells, and so Dampney is left to put another one into the T-34, while the friendly AMX comes and executes that Batchat, and the T-34 had all the opportunity in the world to kill Dampney. Does he take it? Does he heck? Jeez. So he dies, and that just leaves the enemy Primo Victoria. Probably going, where did my team go? And there we are. That's the match. I've no idea how Dampney survived that. Well, I do. Some of his opponents... Well, no. He played his tank to its strengths. He angled his armour. He used his turret front. And some of his opponents were idiots. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the post-game stats for this one. So, that match was in a 4. Hand of God, Bruiser, Duelist, Fire for Effect, Shellproof, Cool-Headed, Spartan, High Caliber, and, perhaps unsurprisingly, a Steel Wall medal. 5,406 damage done, without the top gun and without firing any premium ammo. 3 kills, 1,331 base experience. 21 shots fired, 20 hits, 15 pens for that damage count. 26 hits received, 7 penetrations, 9 bounces for 5,010 damage blocked by his armour, which is rather impressive. 2 enemy vehicles spotted, 5 damaged, 3 destroyed, 667 assistance damage, 1.5 kilometers travelled, and a nice profit into the mix. If we just flip back and have a look at some of the gems on the enemy team, where is that T-34? There he is. 10 shots fired, 9 hits, 5 penetrations. Bearing in mind that counts HE blowing stuff off. 663 damage done. Bravo, mate. Bravo. And the Batchat, the enemy Batchat, maybe he was under pressure, bless him, but he only fired 5 shots all game, and he managed to bounce most of them on Dampney's bum. Anyway, never mind. Currently, 5,010 damage, blocked by armour. Who can possibly beat that? Well, and so it comes to this. Now let's be honest. A World of Tanks video without some sort of mention of the tier 10 super heavy tanks in the game just wouldn't feel right if you were trying to make a point about armour. And if we're going to talk about tier 10 super heavies, let's talk about the Mouse. The mighty Mouse. This tank for a long time was pretty bad. This game, let's be honest. Wargaming decided to give it a bit of love, a bit of a buff. And that's no bad thing. But Wargaming, in their infinite wisdom, decided to buff this tank in a very unusual way. They decided to give it 3 separate sets of buffs at once, which seems a little bit odd. That runs the risk of over-buffing the tank, but never mind. So what did they buff? Well, they buffed its hit point pool. So it went from being the tank with the highest hit point pool in the game to even more the tank with the highest hit point pool in the game, 3,200 hit points. Then they buffed the armour. So they buffed the hit point pool and the armour, and then they buffed the gun, because why not? You know, let's just buff it all round. Who's counting anyway? Now, some of these buffs were wound back, but this replay is taken from a time or when they were not. This is me playing my mouse. And this game, well, I was playing the mouse at the time because I had Heavy Tank Mission 15 for the T55A up and running. And, oh, I just bounced a shot. There we go. It was from an ally, but it was still bounced, right? No, it doesn't count. Boo! So, oh, hello, Mr. Korean pattern. So yeah, the mouse. So Heavy Tank Mission 15. This isn't going to show up. It's going to show my current missions. Oh no, yes it is. Heavy Tank Mission 15. Damage caused, damage received, and damage blocked by armor must total at least 12,000 hit points. Oh, and you have to win if you want it done with the secondary considerations as well. The secondary rewards. So that's the situation we find ourselves in. And here we go. An encounter game here on the Siegfried line. We've done a little bit of damage so far, shooting a couple of peoples. It's all been very, very fun. And you'll notice I'm angling my turret every time I'm not firing, because the turret cheeks of the mouse have traditionally been relatively weak. You could go through the turret cheeks with kind of most tier 10 medium and heavy tanks, and definitely tank destroyers. So, goodbye Mr. IS-3. As a result, you get into the habit of angling your turret cheeks in between shots. Now, the armour on the turret cheeks has subsequently been buffed, but it is still a relative weak point, so it is still worth angling the turret cheeks. So far, we've done 1,600 damage, killed an IS-3, oh, bounced a pilot from somewhere. Probably a friendly pilot. Yep. The same friendly pilot then rams me, because of course he does. Gotta love these teams sometimes, haven't you? And I have to be very careful. I don't want to accidentally kill that guy by him ramming himself to death on me. Oh, T95. Oh, he's shooting me in the back again. Takes out my tracks. But I'm in the mouse, so I barely even notice. Tickle, tickle, tickle. Right, there's a T95 around here. We do need to be careful of him. And artillery gets me. Oh, that's the other thing, of course. They buffed the mouse at about the same time they changed artillery, which means that artillery did less damage as well. And my mouse has a super heavy spool liner. And so far I have yet to take a single point of damage, which is vaguely entertaining, I must confess. Anyone want some? Anyone want a piece of Senor Mouse? Yep, apparently you do. Cool, there we go. There's plenty of mouse to go around, because my mission is to bounce stuff. Well, and deal damage. So I'm happy for people to shoot at me. We're up to 3,800 damage blocked by our armour, by the way. Hello, Mr. Centurion. How's your day going? So, yeah. We're just in the middle of the town here. We're just angling our armour and bouncing all the things. No, that was our tracks. People still haven't done any damage to us. Oh, we'll try that shot on the T10, but it's not very successful. Scoreline's 2-5, by the way. It looks like this team is not doing so well. No, that's more tracks. More track. No, that's my tracks again. That was a terrible shot from me. I need to relax a little bit and just take things as they come. Just waiting. Waiting. I'd like to point out the mouse isn't actually indestructible, despite what this evidence might be leading you to believe. You can kill a mouse, although they have made it relatively difficult. And the mouse, as I say, some of these buffs have been wound back, because even Wargaming realised this was a little bit stupid. Scoreline's 3-5. People are trying to come around the side. Hello, Mr. Lerver. How are you doing today? You doing good? Yeah. Thought you were doing good. And we bounced the Centurion again. And that T95 still sitting there. Oh, it's a Lorraine now. Hello, Mr. Lorraine. How are you? You doing good? Yep. Cool. Kill number 3. The scoreline's 5-5 now, by the way. Still haven't taken a single point of damage. T10. Hello, Mr. T10. Oh, no, you're dead. Never mind. This was a bit of a silly game, in case you hadn't noticed. That T95 is still sitting there, bless him. Still waiting for me to do something, and I'm thinking, oh, that T95 is going to be a problem. Right, what are we going to do about that T95? Well, everything else is dead, so I guess I'd better deal with it. Okay, so, let's just go out and angle my armour and see what happens. I mean, this guy's packing like 270-something penetration. He's got a big gun. Oh, we just bounced him. Cool. Let's pick out, let's go for that Commander's Hatch. No, no, okay. T95 has been given a HD tank model as well, and its cupola things are actually not that weak. Mouse is packing about 246mm of penetration. Try the lower front plate there, which is also technically a weak point, but not that weak. Not that I can complain. I mean, we're just bouncing each other at this point. Alright, let's try the other. Hey, we put a shot into that. Okay, so we've done some damage to this guy. Scorpion takes out my tracks. Let's just keep it angled. Keep it nice and angled. Oh no, T95 doesn't want me shooting that anymore. Okay, so we shoot the other Commander's cupola. That's another bounce from the T95. Cool. Can we do this again? No, that one bounced. It wasn't aimed very well. We bounced another shot from Scorpion, by the way. Right. How much more can we bounce? Jeez Louise. Oh, he might put one into me because I've... Oh, no, never mind. Went into my tracks, and that one bounced. Getting a little bit tired of bouncing on this guy. Bouncing on his weak points, I feel I should point out. The gun on the mouse, so the buffs they gave it, they buffed its reload time, and they might have buffed its aiming stats. But the rather mediocre penetration is still rather mediocre. Fed up with this, so I try the Jagdpanzer, but it's just not working, is it? Scoreline's 9-10 now. Okay, let's just go around here and do something about this T95. Someone finally damages me. Well done, Mr. Griller. Goodbye, Jagdpanzer. Where did he actually shoot me? Firing AP, by the way. These guys have been firing AP. Possibly into the side there. No other obvious hole. So, none of these guys have switched to premium ammunition, by the way, which is quite nice. I couldn't blame them if they did. I mean, we bounced quite a lot at this point. Okay, so let's try this again. Oh, he's dead. Cool. We actually loaded an APCR round there. First APCR round we fired all game because we were tired of bouncing on that guy's weak points. So, Scorpion away in the distance. Can we do something about the Scorpion? This tank isn't a sniper, but, well, we'll take that. Oh, dearie me. There's 4 of them left on the enemy team. And despite having been hit by a Grilla 15, I still have 2,500 hit points remaining. Take a blind shot there. Oh, there's a T49. And we still have a lot of armour. Definitely have a lot of armour. Hello, Mr. Scorpion. Oh, I've been spotted. I want to be careful there because I do not want to get continually slapped by the Grilla. He is most definitely a threat. Oh, never mind. Scorpion's dead. Okay. So that leaves the enemy artillery, the FV207, and the Grilla 15. Okay, cool. Loading the high explosive here, by the way, because they're artillery and a Grilla 15, so why the hell not? 128mm HE, 630 alpha damage, 65 penetration would offend both of them. So we're loading the high explosive, and we're just going to push forward here. Oh, Grilla's fired, he's killed our T30, okay. So whilst he's reloading, we're just going to hold down W for a bit, and try and get closer. Keeping my turret angled to make it harder for him to penetrate me from the direction he's most likely going to be shooting in. Friendly Grilla's also moving up, and we have artillery support, so there's that. Let's see what we can do about this. Oh, I don't have optics on my mouse, so I don't have the best view range I could possibly have. But hopefully it should be good enough for these purposes. Oh, we've been spotted. Oh, there's the enemy artillery. Oh, no, he's backed down behind a little ridgeline thingamajiggy. Ah, sad. Very sad. If our artillery's on the ball, that guy might disappear soon. Would be nice. Where is that Grilla? He seems to have relocated, which is not a bad idea, to be fair to him. So we're just going to continue pushing up here. I'm just going to speed this along a little bit, because watching a mouse drive across a river can be quite boring. Take a punt at the Grilla. We managed to hit him. 574 damage into him, which is fairly nice. Artillery manages to hit the enemy artillery. And, ooh, there's some nice assistance damage for us. Can we kill the artillery? Yes, we can. That's kill number 6. And that just leaves this Grilla 15. A little bit of assistance damage on him. Oh, it would be nice if we could polish this guy off as well. Come on, me old mucker. There you are. Where is he? Oh, friendly Grilla takes him out. But I get the assistance damage. Scouting in the mouse as well. There we go. Is there anything the mouse can't do? Apparently not. And that's the match. So let's go and have a look at the post-battle stats for that rather stupid game. So there we go. We were able to complete Heavy Tank Mission 15 for the T-55A, which was nice. Ace Tanker, Shell-Proof, Spotter, Duelist, Fire for Effect, Bruiser, and on top of all that, cool-headed, Confederate and a top gun. That's not a medal combination you see that often. Steel wall and a high caliber medal. Basically, Confederate and a top gun means we pretty much shot the entire enemy team, which is quite entertaining. 5,906 damage done, 6 kills, 1,378 base experience. Commiserations to the enemy T-95. He was trying to shoot me with AP. He'd had a good game up until that point. We just, you know, out-tanked him. Go figure. Enemy Griller 15. He did 5,000 damage, but it's worth pointing out that certainly at least some of that was done at the end of the match. He was the only one on the entire enemy team to hurt me, by the way. 27 shots fired, 21 hits, 15 penetrations for that damage count, most of which was from point blank range. 28 hits received, 2 penetrated, 26 did not. 1 hit from splash damage, 9,750 damage blocked by armor, 1 enemy vehicle spotted, 12 damaged, 6 destroyed. There we go, we shot every tank on the enemy team apart from 3. 2,583 assistance damage on top of that, and almost 2 kilometers travelled in a mouse. Oh yeah. So there we are. That was, finishing that on a kind of silly note, that was a slew of games from tanks that are, generally speaking, all about the armour, though that doesn't mean they can't do some damage too. Hope you guys enjoyed that assortment of games. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and as ever I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao ciao.